many challenges.
Yeah.
Of course, where it starts off with the language. You know what I mean? Language barrier being a major challenge, and then children, which obviously is a major challenge for those who do have children. For those who don't have children, they have the challenge of language, work, legal status, um, and getting into the right neighborhood to live and mixing and mingling with others. What challenges do you want to talk about, or do you want to start with, inshallah?
And just let it flow. I get calls from Sudafrun alhamdulillah salatu wassalam ala ashraf al-mursalin sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa tabi'ahum bi ihsan ila yawm al-din. My bad. I get calls from all over the country randomly, all over the place. Just people having hardship. My phone is always ringing. Um, Recently, I had a brother who actually Shamaza came here.
Hmm.
He was a dentist. They managed to get out on one of these lottery pieces. I think maybe right before everything started popping off, or right as stuff was popping off.
Hmm.
And last time was out rectified their affairs. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah. So
Yes, if everybody can hear, please. I mean, if anybody that cannot hear on either TikTok or YouTube, please say something in the chat. Jazakumullah khair. And if you wanna add any challenges to this talk, please add it in the chat, and we can add that to our conversation, inshallah.
and to be clear for everybody watching, I don't have it. I don't use TikTok, so I'm not going to be able to see your comments if
Yeah.
you're trying to direct something to me. I Yeah, I got a call recently from this brother who yeah, so he's a dentist. He's trying to get all his licenses and stuff straightened out here so he can start working. And he's been doing Uber and like a it's a it's a popular business for Palestinians to get into. It's like used car sales, especially around Oklahoma and Dallas.
Okay.
So he's trying to test the waters with that a little bit and do some flipping, like flip some used cars and stuff. And he got an amazing deal on this really nice car, and he flipped it really quick.
Uh-huh.
Um, It was just some parts of the transaction were just off. Some parts of it were just like off, and he didn't really know what the weird stuff he needed to be looking for was. And so it turns out he basically bought a stolen car.
Ooh.
Yeah, and but the person presented it in such like a slick way, like it was someone that yeah, they had like a title ready to go, and it's like, oh, it's all signed stuff. Why don't you just get it notarized later or something? Somehow he talked the notary into signing it anyway, even though there wasn't in front of the person who actually owns it. And it was just a huge mess. It was just like,
Wow.
because he resold it to somebody. So like
And this kind
he
of situation, it wouldn't be obvious to someone who is brand new to this country. He doesn't know what
yeah.
documents he's got to see or ask for, how to present it to the Secretary of State. If somebody faces him and say, "Oh, you're driving a Stoli," what is he gonna say? What is he gonna do?
He sold it to somebody else. So he flipped it. And there he found out because like a few months later they bring like an action to get the title back to the car. It was confusing. So you got like three layers of people. This thief who supposedly stole this, you can't find her. And it's just like huge mess because they just didn't know the little things you have to look for. And
Allahu Akbar.
it's just yeah, it's a completely different system.
Yeah.
Man, it's a
This is
different
this is a
system.
major challenge, first of all, is knowing knowing what's really going on in this country and how the rules of this country play. Because if
Yeah,
you don't play by the rules of this country, you're gonna have it very hard.
yeah.
Sallallahu alaihi.
The vibe as a whole, like the way things work here, the way that police see you and they interact, the way that government officials see you and interact, is completely different. And if
Absolutely.
you try to come at these officials with the same kind of attitude that we see in some of Muslim countries, it can land you in
Absolutely.
a really bad situation.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The other challenge is being in the wrong place at the wrong time
Yeah,
is a difficult challenge that you won't really know about it until you're in trouble.
yeah,
Because if you don't get in trouble in the wrong place, alhamdulillah, that's good. But at the same time, you won't know that this is the wrong place to be. So you're gonna
yeah.
learn from your mistakes and get yourself out of there, inshallah, without any problems. Before you get something stolen from you, or before you get jumped, or before something bad happens to you. That's
You
Allah
know,
al-afiyah.
I mean, and you don't. Sometimes you don't see it until it's too late. So, just in the layer of language,
Yeah,
you know that basically there's like most likely your kids or your grandkids that you just way bye to that language. At least in the conventional sense, maybe they can learn to speak like me. It's like a second language or something, but it's gonna fade. And some of these problems, there's a brother here from Khalid who was, I mean, oh, subhanAllah, like he came from a long line of like people who did dawah
uh-huh.
in Khalid, and he was very, very, very um, incredible family. He got here studying for school, right? He was on the scholarship study for school, and one thing led to another. And maybe he made one mistake one night, and he ended up trying something he never tried before, and
Oh man.
you know, I tell you, fast forward. I mean, we got him back home now, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But I mean, he's back home in Saudi. He's got several kids here in the United States that will never probably talk to him or know him. And the story of him going back was just really sad. I don't know how much you want to hear about it. I
No, tell us a story.
Yeah, so he was a friend of mine. Like I knew him when he first got here. We were hanging out and talking. I used to hang out with a lot of the Khadijis that come here to study. That's how I started trying to get acclimated to the Arabic language. Um, yeah, so this brother's family cousin or something calls me up. He said, "Hey, have you seen this guy in a while?" I was like, "Been a few years. I don't know what's going on." I assumed he went home, and it turns out that they had lost touch with him, and he would end up being he was on the streets of my town.
Allahu Akbar.
Like he was from a very wealthy country, full scholarship, everything paid for. He was somewhere on the street, so I ended up getting in touch with their embassy, and we had a good conversation. They ended up sending me like a temporary identification form, and basically I worked with this family in the embassy to basically just like track this brother down, figure out where he was at, and just clean him up and put him on a plane. I mean, I found this brother in like the worst slum you can imagine in my area.
Yeah, Allah.
There's this pizza joint that they basically had there's some kind of like drug house right next door that the owner owned, and he let homeless people go there and use drugs and sleep if they just work at the pizza shop. So I found him in
Allah.
this pizza shop. I heard he was working on this. So I went in. I went into that dark and dreary house, people doing drugs. I found this beautiful, wonderful brother who had, you know, from the best of families and
And he was all
the
caught up
most
in it.
pious. He was gone.
La
So
hawla wa la quwwata illa
I
billah.
got him out of this house. I I got him, they sent me some cash, and like I said, the embassy sent me a new passport for him. It was just like temporary, and I got him cleaned up, and I went to the airport. I did all I could do, all except shoving him on the plane. Like
Allahu Akbar.
it was really sad.
Yeah.
Like you're not prepared. It's one thing if you grew up here and you're used to seeing certain things, you're used to doing things, but it's bad enough having to deal with fitna here,
Wallahi.
having been around it your whole life, but brothers come here for 5 minutes. In the first 5 minutes, they see stuff, they are exposed to stuff they're not prepared for, and
Hmm.
it's easy to get lost.
Very
This
simple.
this wonderful, like you talking about the best of families you never imagine. I mean, I found him in a drug den.
Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. And the truth
Yeah,
is, they are, you know, they're coming with the right intentions.
yeah,
That's for sure. But they're facing all these different pleasures that they're like, oh my God, I'm not used to this stuff, I'm gonna jump on it, I'm gonna try it, but they don't know the meaning of I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try
yeah,
it means that, you're gonna fall into it, and once you fall into it, waliyadu billah, it's too late to come back,
Yeah,
and you cannot come back from it
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. I know
So,
all too well that, I'm not gonna like talk about too much. I don't wanna, talk about my past too much. I know what those situations are like. It's not pretty, and you know, people here aren't prepared for it, let alone folks who've never seen stuff like that before. Or if
absolutely.
they do, like we talked about last time in our silent podcast,
Hmm.
you know,
The
um,
silent podcast.
yeah, you'll see, people always say like you see this stuff over in our countries too, but it's like it's not like out in the open. It's not something people are calling for.
Mm,
It's not it's not the goal, It's like there's some shame and some hiding
yeah,
about it.
like,
So that's another challenge.
that is, and just basically what it is that people gotta realize that we have to teach our kids to feel like they have to, um, they have to feel that courage to say that I'm a Muslim and I have standards and I have values, and if you're gonna be my friend or be in my circle, you have to respect these values and standards.
Yeah,
And
I'm not
that's
bothered to wash themselves after they go. Number two,
absolutely,
like and
absolutely.
that's the attitude. Like for me, having come from this society and having worked very hard to first of all just be comfortable accepting religion. After accepting religion, having struggled for years to be comfortable talking about it, be comfortable, it's very difficult. Having gotten to this point, the attitude I try to foster in my household is like this thing is precious. That the morals, the values that we have are the standard
Hmm.
to be for everything else to be judged off of. And when you see my kids see people doing, we just had Halloween, their reaction isn't like, "Ooh, I want to go out there and do it." It's like, I don't get why people do that. The few
Alhamdulillah.
times, like I can trust my kids now. Like, we've I said no smartphones and no iPads from the beginning of their lives, and I've held up no iPad, nothing, not even on a long plane trip, whatever. I'll let them watch TV here and again, a few cartoons that I'll vet or whatever. They'll have an episode of Halloween or something come up, and you can both of even the young one, they'll be like, "Baba, get in here now. You gotta get this, turn this off." They're not trying. They don't even want to see it.
Allahu Akbar.
Like this thing is not something that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't even want it, Like their
Allahu
attitudes,
Akbar.
we've got the best morals and the best values to be holding up,
Yeah,
Pride.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that's something that wallahi, our community needs to understand that listen, um, if we don't show that to our kids won't see things to be serious.
Yeah.
If they don't see us, waking up for Fajr, if they don't see us being proud of being Muslims, if they don't see us when we're out there, showing off that we are Muslims, not just okay, my name is this, okay, no, I'm a Muslim, and be very proud about it. They're not gonna they're not gonna find it to be uh, you know, something to show pride of. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Kids, neighborhood kids playing in the neighborhood, like, oh, we don't see you at school. Where do you go to school? It's like, I go to the I go to this Islamic academy. Like, they're like, oh, what's that? And it's like, oh, yeah, it's the best school ever. Like, I love it. And
Allah
they're talking about what they do in school. And like, you guys don't read Quran in school? Like, that's so weird. Like,
Akbar.
it's
That's
like
beautiful.
Ajib. Like, what do you guys do over there?
That
Like,
guy's missing on. Oh, you don't
yeah,
know.
there's none of this like shame, like peer pressure.
Allah.
And I had two. I told you about one of them, but as I was coming into Islam, I had two Muslims that helped me get on a good path with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There was the Indonesian brother that I first looked at and I was like, wow, this is the first religious person I've ever seen take it seriously. I need to get to know this person, figure out what's going on.
Uh-huh.
Unfortunately, he left our school, and after I took Shahada, I came back and there was like nobody practicing really in the school. And I kind of, it was, you take a shahada, you get on this big iman high, and you get right back into this bad environment. You can just go right back to everything you're doing. But
Allah.
there's this Nigerian brother, mashallah, tabarak rahman. I can't say enough about him. But kind of just like saved my life. I mean, he's just he was one of the most popular. We small school, tiny school. He came from Nigeria. He was a freshman that year, and he's the only reason our soccer team started winning games for the first time in a decade. And he was handsome and mashallah, he was from like the 1% in Nigeria. He had money. He'd take everybody out to eat. So
Allah
like he's the
Akbar.
type of guy where every girl on campus would be banging on his door every night, and every guy would be trying to hang out with him every single day. But you know what? When those girls banged on his door, he didn't let them in. And
Subhanallah.
they'd invite him to do X, Y, Z. He said, don't even ask me about alcohol. So he would like abandon them. And the whole, in spite of you know, his shutting them down on these things, he was the most popular kid in school. Like,
Subhanallah.
and it was like an alcoholic school. Like, I mean, my
Allah.
school is the type of school where on any given Tuesday, people will be pouring vodka in their orange juice at 7 o'clock in the
Allah.
morning at the cafeteria. Like,
Ya Allah. That's crazy.
yeah. So I saw him, and I'm like, and he was just like, "What are you doing, bro? Let's press the law." Like, he didn't need to lower himself
And
to,
that's the person that would be looked at like a leader.
yeah,
That's the one that everybody looks up to, and they want to be him, and they want to be like him, and they want to be around him all the time, because that's the strong will. He's like, this is my way, and this is what I'm gonna do. You're gonna follow, ahlan wa sahlan. You're not gonna
yeah.
follow, go find your own.
When you show weakness in your own views, for one, people don't think you actually believe what you believe. But it's just you don't want to follow a weak person. I don't know the code of the hadith. The hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam
Alayhi
told
salatu
us
wassalam.
that those who you know seek the pleasure of the creation by displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're gonna turn against you. And then those who
Absolutely.
don't mind if they displease them, Allah's gonna not only will Allah be pleased with you, but suffice the people against you. That's what happened with that brother. Like he didn't care what they said.
Allahu Akbar.
Yeah,
That's the beauty about it, man. Wallahi. It's
yeah,
unbelievable how strong will, especially with following Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, can lead you to strengths that are unbelievable.
yeah,
You can face the world with it.
yeah.
And that's something that's part of, Alhamdulillah, the book that I just finished publishing. That's part, and this is not like a promo, but I just meant to mention it.
You can promote your show, man.
SubhanAllah. Um, the the will and having a strong heart is what it takes for you to be able to follow the Prophet ﷺ. Because if you don't have that courage and that strong heart, you can never tell everybody, "Hey, listen, I'm following the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. I'm a Muslim now." You know, it needs that healthy, strong heart and a heart of a leader that says, "You know what? I'm done with all this crap. I'm gonna follow the righteousness,
Yeah,
Allah and His Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam."
and it's such a the mizan of like, and I'm saying mizan is just like the balance, like the scale of being a Muslim. You
Yes,
really feel less than it's just beautiful. Like if you anchor yourself in that, the way that you live your life becomes so beautiful. Like I'm sitting here on the balanced scale, happy, go lucky, calm, peaceful. I'm good. And then if somebody in my presence were to insult Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that scale tips towards don't you dare say that.
yeah,
When like I don't like to be angry or react unless it's something that's worthy of reacting like that.
mm-hmm.
And you know what you're supposed to be angry about. You know what you're supposed to be happy about. If you anchor yourself in that, it helps you be balanced. Like when you need to walk hard, carry big steps. It's haiba. It's haiba. It's like when you're supposed
Haiba,
to.
yeah,
Yeah, it's haiba.
what would haiba mean in English? There's not
Walk,
one word.
walk soft, but carry a big stick. It's like haiba is like the reason you people don't speak about the mother of the guy in the affliction T-shirt with the big. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah,
it's a respect that comes from like this person's tough. This person has values. They're good. You know, some there's this respect. It's like mutual destruction or
it's
something. You know.
respect that also has fear.
Yeah, like I know
So
that
you
if I cross the
respected him,
line,
you're also afraid of him, and you're adoring that strength that you could see in him. Like, okay, I'm not gonna mess with this guy. I'm gonna
yeah,
respect him, and I'm gonna show him that respect.
yeah, it's somebody who has lines. They keep those lines.
Hmm.
And if you live like that, if you anchor yourself with Islam, you know when it's the time to get angry. You know when it's the time to let people go. Like it's perfect. You know,
Yes,
if
yes.
I get angry at someone, I know exactly why I'm angry at that person, and I know when I can stop being angry at them.
Hmm.
Because I try to base it in what pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala messenger.
And
Sallallahu
I've
alaihi wasallam.
I've heard a few people on
You know what the proudest moment of my life as a father was?
Salah, salam.
When I was sitting there talking to my oldest son in bed when he was like barely 5. And I was like, just saying the typical stuff. I love you more than anything, son. Da, da. You know what he said to me? He said, Baba, I love you so much too, but not more. Like, we have to love Allah and His Messenger more.
Allahu Akbar.
He shouldn't be comfortable with.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And the other person that I really when I heard, I was kind of like Subhanallah, wow, okay. It was I think it was a priest who says that I was walking down the street and I noticed a Muslim praying in the street, or it was on the sidewalk, and then he tells everybody who's listening to him, and I wasn't gonna let a Muslim out
Out
praying
praying,
me.
yeah,
You saw
yeah,
that?
exactly.
Because he noticed that this guy stopped everything he was doing to face Allah and pray. And you can't. There's no religion. There's no group of people that say that they're Muslims, or I'm sorry, that say that they follow a religion that pray like a Muslim does. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah,
And I did a quick response to that video where I said, so you're gonna outpray a Muslim when we start off early in the morning with Fajr prayer, but before that we pray 2 rak'at of Sunnah. That is 4 by itself. And then if we stay in the masjid for a little bit past Fajr, we're praying 2 more. That's 6. And then if we want to do Duha, another 2 more. That's 8. And so on and so forth, counting just the minimum Sunnah and the fard, only, the 5 fard. I was like, bring me one religion in the world that can come up with this kind of prayer and the way that we pray. Because our prayer is meant for us to not just be spiritually perfect, but to be physically perfect, subhanAllah.
yeah,
And that's the beauty of being a Muslim. Islam is the perfect religion that we follow and we try to come as close to it as possible. Obviously, we can never be perfect, but we can be as close to it as we are capable of individually.
yeah. And you know what? I think we need to come up with a different word for salah than prayer because we're not even talking about the same thing. When they talk about praying, they're just talking about like what we think about as like nawafil dua, like just like
Dua, that's about
dua
it.
that we would do voluntarily for like we don't have to do it.
Like
Like
we do it while driving or maybe
just
just walking on the
yeah,
street.
yeah, like that's what they're talking about.
That's what the non-Muslims say when they say pray.
Yeah,
Salah, subhanallah, if you want to try to translate salah into an English word by itself, I don't think it would, it would work. But the closest word to salah is connection.
Yeah, صلة.
Sila.
اتصل به يعني اتصل
Yeah.
به. You go call me later. Like,
Connection or a
connection.
call or some kind of communication from far. And the thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it so beautiful when he ordered us to do the salah, basically, is that he is um, providing this window of connection between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and no one between. And if we try to encourage our kids to understand how close we are as Muslims to the Creator, that's what's gonna bring that proudness or the prideness in their hearts when they say, I am a Muslim. I'm connected with the Creator. What else you want me to do?
Yeah, whether we want to or not, in those times we have to do it. Whether you're feeling it, whether you got sure or not, whether X, Y, Z. Like even if like I always tell brothers when they're having trouble keeping up with their salah, like I don't feel it, I don't do this. Like you got to write the check. They don't have check doesn't have to get cashed. You just got to write the check.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't have to be
Absolutely.
cashed. You
Yeah.
got to write it.
Exactly.
You got to write your check, even if they don't
Exactly.
cash it.
Subhanallah, Allahumma barik.
You got to try.
Yeah, those are challenges, man, in our current times that we are facing as Muslims.
Yeah.
And for everyone who may have, saw this or heard this before, the challenges that Muslims are facing, if we don't find a solution for them, just like you said, we may lose our Muslim generations that may come after us. And one of the things that my father, rahimahullah, used to remind me, which he was reminding everybody at the masjid because he used to be the imam at the masjid, he used to remind everybody saying, you know, if you are safe and you're sure about your heart and you know that you're not going to get affected and afflicted by this world and this society that you're living in, know that your generation that will come after you will get affected if you don't follow and if you don't watch out for these challenges that you are being faced with here in this country. You chose this country to come to either work and get yourself better and get life, better, but then you want to make sure that you pay the price. And paying the price is being on top of every little thing because it's not easy. It's not easy. نسأل الله السلامة والعافية. And obviously, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us and protect our children is definitely one of the major things that may help us resolve our problems. Prayer and asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to preserve our children and to help us in these challenges and these challenging times. What other challenges do you have in mind, brother?
I want to relate. I want to before we leave this topic. I'm going to replay the story I told you last time in our silent body
Uh-huh. Tell me.
about the uncle that told you that our new brother's uncle who the sheikh, the age the sheikh in age that just became Muslim in '74,
Uh-huh.
talking about being at his job. Alhamdulillah, and our elders still working. Less time so they give their children the risk to make sure they don't have to work anymore. But putting on a kufi, putting on all this stuff, just visibly being Muslim. One of the native born Muslims being like, how do you get away with doing stuff like that at work?
How do you get away?
Yeah, he just, I don't care.
Absolutely.
If you know the truth, and I think there's another thing we talked about last time. I want to make sure to state it so everyone can realize it. Sometimes Muslims, Arabs, or whoever tend to be very argumentative about politics and how right they are about certain topics. But on this particular topic, it feels like sometimes so one thing we want to let go, you know,
Uh-huh.
like you
Uh-huh.
want to be argumentative about how to this political situation or the right way to do X, Y, and Z and be stubborn about all this dunya stuff. But when we know the truth for sure, is the one thing you want to be like, well,
Wallahi, and I noticed this, subhanallah, and with this is all being said with all due respect, mashallah, to all Muslims out there. But when I meet with brothers and sisters who joined or who accepted Islam after being on a different faith, you could tell how they are holding on because they just found that truth and they really realize that is the truth.
Yeah.
And I always say this, that those brothers and sisters are the closest to comparison to the Sahaba, radwanullah alayhim. The closest to comparison to the Sahaba. Why? Because they were upon something, they heard about the truth, they heard about Islam, and they grabbed on real nice and tight, and they're never gonna let go. And that's why when I hear those ex-Muslims or those who claim to be ex-Muslims, I say you were never a Muslim to come and say you are an ex-Muslim now. I can never believe that there is an ex-Muslim out there, a
Yeah.
real ex-Muslim. You cannot
Yeah.
see that.
Because if you were raised by people who were even raised in a family that's like, there's no such thing as culturally Muslim. You know,
Right.
some other faiths, some other faiths have this idea of being, whether you are down with the faith or not, you're still part of the thing, like 100% faith based. There's
Hmm.
no such thing as culturally Muslim.
Right. There's no such thing as culturally Muslim. You're either Muslim or you're not Muslim. Now
Yeah.
you might come from a specific culture and follow specific culture behaviors or things that you're used to because of your culture. That's one thing. But you're a Muslim, whether you're from India, you're from Africa, you're from Asia, wherever, Europe, wherever.
Yeah, and you
SubhanAllah.
look at the microcosm of the non-Muslims, like the Christians in those countries, and they're going to have a lot of the same, more like the same cultural practices.
Yeah,
They're going to give you the same tea when you go to their house. They're going to have the same shyness about X, Y, and Z. It's like no such thing
absolutely.
as culturally Muslim.
Yes, yes, subhanallah. And at the time where we can see that culture is a strong thing, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, as long as it goes with Islam, that is good. That is, that's good to follow. But if it's culturally, but at the same time goes against Islam, then we cannot be following it, whether it's culture or not. We need to
Yeah,
drop it right away.
yeah,
But everything has to be along the standards of Islam to be
yeah.
accepted.
That's for sure.
And if it doesn't, then we have to find something other than that.
Yeah,
That way we can be following the correct path of Islam,
that's for sure.
inshallah.
Yeah. So just the biggest struggle is just getting to a place where you feel like that,
Yeah, you're
and
right,
you get
you're
to a
right.
place where you feel like that, inshallah. Bismillah.
Absolutely. If anybody has any questions in the chat, please um, use the comments section
Yeah.
to
As
ask the questions if
far
you
as
have any.
getting in over your head, you know,
See,
some people come here and find that. Somebody asked a question.
no, no, nobody. Go ahead.
Some people get here, and as you know about what I'm working on right now, we can't talk about too much. Some people come here and find that not everybody has the best intentions, and you got people snatching up kids and stuff too. Like that
Oh man,
happens. Yeah,
oh man, it happened real close to us here in Detroit.
yeah.
Not like this one was physically wanted to snatch up this kid and kill her.
I remember that. Yeah, I heard
You
about
heard, and it
that.
happened like less than a month ago,
Yeah,
where some crazy dude just came down, the park and grabbed this little girl and slit. And alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave her the courage to kick his leg and run away from him. But there are some crazy folks out there.
yeah, and they're not always
Slit
looking
kid.
crazy.
and they're not always looking crazy. They look normal,
Yeah. Just,
and that's why this you know as many times I get asked, just because I'm American, when I go back home, take me to America, help me go to America, or help me go to the West, anywhere. Just help me out. People are thinking that American dream, place where I go and start making money and become better off. They think that we come here and we start, snatching money off the trees and stacking up,
yeah.
like
They don't know about taxes.
they don't know about taxes, they don't know about bills, they don't know about tickets, they don't know about
They don't know about
registration.
$3,000 a month rent.
Oh my God, they don't know about these things. Challenges of coming here. They don't know about dropping your kids off at school, thinking that they're safe and they're okay. Some people's, Allahumma afina, may Allah protect them. Some people's daughters go into school looking like a Muslim, and inside school they change up and they have to fit in. This is a major challenge.
Yeah. They
So
don't know
boys
about
always
people
saying,
going onto our campuses and popping off rounds of little kids. Like,
yeah,
and I'm not saying like I was born here, raised here. Like, and I have unlimited gratitude for the Muslims who came before me that established Islam here.
yes,
My attitude's been I have the same conversations. I told you I use this app called Lingbee where I can practice my Arabic by just talking to random brothers in the Middle East.
yeah,
And after we get past the "Where are you really from?" conversation, because that's what they spend 5 minutes after. Like, so where's your dad from? Where's your grand? Because I'm just chopping it up like 30 minutes
yeah.
in like a Chamois accent. And they're like, "Where are you really from?" I'm like, "Nah, bro, I'm really from here." And then, like, all right, can you help us get here? I'm like, "You really don't want to. Like, we're good." My attitude right now is like, we got everybody we need right now. We're gonna figure it out. Like, we're good.
And this is the challenge that people are facing overseas, that makes them think that the grass is green on the other side. It could be greener, when it comes to certain things, certain aspects in life, but it will be much worse with the other aspects. You know?
To the point you're gonna be begging. I mean, you got people, bringing their teenage kids to, the imam at the masjid. Like, my son doesn't, he's not praying. He doesn't believe in anything. Like, he's not. But they're leaving Islam or alhamdulillah, like join another religion or something, and they're bringing the kid to the imam when they're like 17 years old. Like, fix them. Like,
Yeah,
it's too late.
can't fix them.
Yeah, you don't. You come here, you don't know. Now we're getting like the people who are already here getting better. Like we have a system in place. You saw that in that first, the 100 years ago when the people first started coming. I don't know if it's 60% of their descendants or 70% of their descendants left Islam.
Mm,
I think the stats are getting better now because we have established ourselves.
yeah,
But we're getting to a point where we got a system. We're building ourselves up. Got to start working on getting back home looking better.
yeah, exactly. But now there's some people who left their homes with many challenges over there, and legitimate challenges that they
Yeah,
couldn't live with, so they had to live away from. And
yeah,
now they're here.
yeah,
Now that they're here, they gotta step up.
yeah,
That the work ethics, their dealings, raising their kids, and they gotta become stronger Muslims. They gotta become stronger Da'iya. They gotta become more protective. They gotta become more watchful, alert. They have to do their work, and they have to do their due diligence in order for them to protect themselves, their families, and their homes.
yeah,
And being in this country, if you're not doing da'wah, if you're not learning and becoming, a very, academically strong, and don't forget about Islam, and you're not maybe, working something that is productive, obviously, without dropping your standards and your values,
yeah,
then you are here يعني, I'm sorry to say this, but you are here like a sheep, just following whatever. Man, yeah, we have, I think, touched upon many issues out there that are realistic, real challenges for Muslims. And I think if we talk about challenges and we take each challenge and just chop it down and find out, where it starts and try to figure out the correct solution for it, bi'idhnillah, um, this type of talk, and I hope this can be replicated by many brothers and sisters who may have listened to this, or who may have heard this, or may have be listening to this right now. This would be very productive.
Yeah,
We have to figure out our challenges, to figure out the solutions, to figure out where we're going wrong. Otherwise, we'll be just, blindly walking like a dead man walking, not knowing where we're going, what we're doing. We're just doing our
yeah,
routine every day without fixing anything.
yeah,
We don't fix things, things are not going to get better. We got to work hard on this. We got to work hard on trying to get rid of these challenges from our lives, resolve our challenges, inshallah, and take care of our people and take care of our own communities. If anybody has any other inputs, please speak up, give us a
yeah.
comment.
Definitely have to make it better here, and I think we talked about some of the ways that we want to do that.
Inshallah, we have to have plans for our communities here in America. Our communities here in America, since we are here, we have to plan and plan and plan and get together, Muslim brothers together, Muslim sisters together, leaders come together, imams, da'wah people, everybody. We need to come together to figure this out and
Yeah,
see how we can pull each and every one of us next to each other. We gotta stand next to each other. We gotta stand strong. Mashallah, we're over a couple of billion Muslims in the world,
yeah.
and I honestly believe in America we have more than 10% of the American population as Muslims.
10%.
10%.
No, I mean, American. I mean, like
In
here,
the U.S., yeah, I think we have more than 10%.
it's like 1.5, maybe.
That's what
There's
they
400 million people though.
there's 300 million people exactly.
400 million. Think we
So
got 40
I think we have at least 30 million people who are Muslim.
on the. Yeah, see who's registered and not right. I mean, we've got a lot of people who aren't
Not,
on the
no,
census.
nobody is really registered. How many people really claim to be Muslims? And how many don't claim to be Muslims? And we don't have an actual system that shows religious background.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So I really strongly believe that we have at least 30 million Muslims here in America. If we stand strong with each other, honestly. Look, the other day there's a brother that was doing some kind of calculation, and I really liked it. And he was looking, he's like, look how much impact we could do if we come together. And he said we have approximately a million Muslims. No, did he say a million or 3 million in America? I think he said approximately 3 million
that's
Muslims.
1%. Yeah, we're like 1% of the population,
Yeah, that's the recorded. That's the record.
but we
So
got
so this is what he said. He said we got 3 million people. Okay, if we pitch in $5 every month, that's $15 million a month. Okay, times 12, that's $180 million in 1 year. Times 4, that's $720 million in 4 years. And we can come up with this $720 million every 4 years just by paying $5 a month. That could rebuild our community and fix things, like renew things every 4 years in the entire country.
Well, that's small potatoes. Like we're 1% of the population approximately, and I mean we're very industrious people. I mean, in my city, we're maybe less than that 1%. In my state, we're very, it's a very small kind of not a very not a strong community like Texas or something. I mean, you look around and every shopping center, every gas station, every IHOP, every like everything. It's like, you can't look anywhere in the town and not see at least two Muslim-owned properties.
Yes,
Like
absolutely.
the biggest car dealership in town,
Is a
like
Muslim.
and yeah, and the owners on every billboard and everything. No one knows he's Muslim.
Yeah, the
Yeah, I mean you
name is
gotta.
Muslim, and they're, clearly, Muslims, and
He's on
we
every
we are
billboard.
productive. We're
Yeah,
definitely productive.
yeah.
The ones that are productive, or the ones that are lacking that productivity, and they're not, let's say, a positive citizen, are those who saw those challenges in their lives and fell back and relaxed and said, you know what, I don't need to be productive.
Yeah.
Those are the minor ones that are really, you know, showing that as a Muslim, um, I'm sorry, they're showing the opposite of being a Muslim is a productive citizen to their society and to their community.
And I have so much respect for the businessmen that you see. I mean, they came here with nothing,
Yes.
and I mean, they became the 1% of the 1%,
Yeah.
and that's an advantage. That's a huge advantage too. Like you look at the Sahaba, radiallahu anhum ajma'in,
Radiyallahu
and all of them, like not all of them were the people of Quran, people like everybody, but everybody had the job. Like everybody had the thing they're good at. They said Khalid ibn Walid, radiallahu anhu, the end of his life, maybe has maybe five or six of the short swords, like not even the last 10 short swords memorized. Because
Yeah,
it was his job to be a warrior. Like he was a general. Like
exactly.
these businessmen, they rake it in for the community. They build massages. They build all this stuff. It's such a respectable thing. It's everybody's got their job, you know.
That's the beauty of Islam. It's building blocks.
Yeah,
Islam is when Islam started to develop in Mecca and Medina, the Prophet ﷺ made sure he made everybody understand that each person, each individual is a building block for this community.
yeah.
You do your best and you let others do their best. And this is how the community and the society gets built.
Yeah,
If everybody's going to become an imam at the masjid, oh, and then who's going to pray behind them?
yeah, and you can see that with the Farah and Kifaya. Like,
Yes.
you know, some like I don't expect no all of you aren't expected to do this, but if somebody's not doing this, it's all of your fault.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
like
That's what
somebody's got to be
yeah.
doing this job.
Somebody got to
Somebody's
do it.
got to be somebody's got to be doing this. If you can't find one person to do this, it's all like, you all are responsible.
It's a a
Yeah,
total problem
all
within the
y'all out here,
community.
you can't get one person to do this thing.
Yeah, we gotta have the doctors. We gotta have the lawyers. We gotta have the
Yeah,
engineers. We gotta have the little skilled men. We gotta have the painter. Everybody.
policemen, you got to have the security guards watching out. You
It's a
know.
full society, full community issue that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala encourages for all to be the building blocks of this society. Otherwise, it's like you said, we are all blamed. We don't have a physician in our entire community, we are all to be blamed if we don't have
Yeah.
a pharmacist or a teacher or something like that.
And we know those people are just as important as the person who picks up the trash.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi
Sallallahu alaihi
wasallam
wasallam.
got angry when he was not informed of the death of an anonymous woman who cleaned the masjid. He
Allahu
gets
Akbar.
so mad,
He was
so
so
upset.
upset. Yes.
Every person is important.
Mm-hmm.
Every person has value. What their input to society. No one's just because you're a lawyer, whatever. Just because you have this job, it's like everybody does an important job, and it's beautiful. I don't know, like
Yeah. It's perfection. It's actually above perfection. I don't know if there's a word above perfection. It's the way that humanity should be.
yeah,
Because subhanallah, it gives importance to everything in life. It
yeah.
doesn't just concentrate on one thing and leaves away. That's why when it comes to Muslims, may Allah forgive them and forgive us all.
Forgive us.
And when they find that I need to start picking on other Muslims because they are lacking one thing, and they start calling names and they start doing this, you got to say to these people, my dear brothers, you got to back off a little bit. You got to realize that Islam is perfect in all. We cannot be picking on people. If we see that there's a lack somewhere, we need to take them to the side, talk to them, educate them, and help them. If they're missing out, that's when we find out that we might be the problem because we're not educating,
Yeah.
we're not teaching, we're not reminding people of what is the correct thing to do.
Maybe that's something I ask a lot for forgiveness for all the time. Like, you go through a period, I think everybody goes through that period a little bit rough. I mean, I've had periods where I'm a little rough around the edges. Like,
Of course.
I think a lot of converts, reverts, whatever you call them, have that where they're just like, you discover this most beautiful thing, gift. You see people that don't all appreciate it as much as they probably should. You get angry, but everybody's got their role. Everybody's in their own place. Um, and there's a wonderful saying that I think about all the time, and it sets perspective in my head about like you got to approach things from your level. Hasanatu abrar sayyi'atu muqarrabin. Like, you ever heard that sentence?
Say it one more time.
Hasanatu Hasanatu abrar sayyi'atun muqarrabin.
سيئة
Muqarrabin.
سيئة المقربين.
لمقربين. Like the really good actions that like good people do are like the worst actions of the people who are like way better. Like
Oh,
the person who like prays Qiyam al once in a while, like that's a great thing that he did. But the person who does it every single day makes it a habit. When they don't do it, it's like a big deal that they didn't do it. It's like
yeah,
everybody's at a different level, right?
yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
You gotta like challenge yourself to be better, but also like understand the fact that if you're not doing all those things, maybe you're doing the best you can, you know?
Allahu Akbar. So this
But
sister is saying she moved to Illinois 8 years ago from Africa, and she only meets the church people. Now, I hope that you are able to meet some of your Muslim community because there are many Muslims in Chicago. I don't know
a
what part of
lot.
Illinois are you, but if you are seeking the masajid, I'm sure you'll find it. If you need help finding the masajid, let me know in the chat or privately. I can lead you towards a lot of the masajid in the area. But Illinois, I'm sure there are some areas that don't have a lot of masajid in them, but Chicago in particular has at least 10 masajid that I can think of right now.
Not even like in one block. They
In
have more.
one block. Uh,
There's a cool. I went there one day. There's this really cool suburb where I mean it's like Arabic signs. They have a grocery store up there that's a regular grocery store that has like halal and everything.
oh my God, you haven't been there a lot, or have you?
I've been there for one day. I went there to pick something up.
Oh my God, they have
from someone
some of
who
the
was coming.
biggest masajid, bro. They have
And
a
we did the
masjid that looks like Qubbatul Sakhra.
mashallah.
Yeah, it's called
We
Oak something, Oak Park
we
or something.
we did the math, and it was actually cheaper for me to fly to Chicago for 1 day and pick something up medical related that had been brought here by somebody
Uh-huh.
than to just buy it from the pharmacy.
Really? Allah,
Somebody brought some meds because I was like, okay, I'm going to Chicago for a few hours.
Allahu Akbar.
I was there for like 4 or 5 hours.
Ah. But yeah, Chicago, man, they got some masajid, man. You know, Mosque Foundation is one of the biggest, bro. I mean, and you go there for Salat al-Fajr. I've been there to Salat al-Fajr, Allahumma barik, one day. Man, I'm talking about at least 10 lines.
That's great.
10 lines, and it's not a small masjid. The lines are wide. You're talking about a couple of thousand people for Salat al-Fajr. That's pretty. I love it. They have
That's
many
got to be people
masajid.
living real close, you know. That many people living pretty close.
Yeah, they live real close to the masjid because, they've been there for a very long time. So people just started buying property in the area to the point where, they allowed other people to rent and stuff like that. So they've been there for a minute. But mashallah, man, there's some people over there. Now she
Yeah,
says it's a lot around my area, and I know, but they don't help that much. Okay, I mean, I think we are guilty of that. We are guilty of that. That, sometimes we feel strange to others. Um, but you need to try to approach some of these people, my dear sister. Especially when you go into the masjid, the Islamic centers. There's something that it is, there's maybe a halaqa or maybe a dars or something like that, and you're there. You can make friends and get to know the people, and they could get to know you better, and obviously if you need some help, you take it to the board of the masjid, and I'm sure they're able to help. Once again, communication is a big key. If you're not communicating with people, especially like we mentioned, all these challenges here in America, sometimes you won't find the people trying to ask, which is a problem. This is our problem as Muslims here. We have to really ask about each other. We have to check in and check up and check out and make sure that, hey, brother is not here. Let's go check him out. Let's see what's going on. What's wrong with him? Sister, between amongst the sisters is missing out or something. Let's go check up on her, especially if she's, by herself, if she's alone there, whatever, So, this is a problem, and I've learned this from, firsthand with my father, rahimahullah, when he used to actually, after he finished salah, he'll turn around and he looks at everybody that's behind him, and he'll figure out who's missing from those people who are, normally attending prayer at the masjid. And then he asks some of his friends, "What's wrong with so and so? How come he didn't show up today? Is he okay?" And then if they say, "Yes, he is okay, alhamdulillah, please, send my regards or my salam to him." If he's not okay, let's go visit him, you know? And that's how it should be, in our community. But if you're not getting the help that you need from the masajid, please communicate with the masajid so that there is no blame on you and there's no blame on them as well. You know what I mean? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make things easy for you and for the rest of the Muslims in the area, whether it's Chicago, in Illinois, or New York, Detroit, wherever you guys are. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. Allahumma ameen.
And most people in the world, for some reason, most people in the world are shy to like start conversations and start. So I mean, if you
Yeah,
just go,
there's that
you just go
shyness.
start talking to people, it's all good. Like most of
Yeah.
them want someone else to just pop up and say, "Hey, what's up?" Like Assalamu
Yeah,
alaikum.
exactly. You know
How you
how
doing?
you're shy to say assalamu alaikum to me. I'm shy, and that's why the Prophet ﷺ encourages afshu salam. Afshu salam, meaning spread the salam, which also has a meaning, spread the peace. When you see Muslims, say assalamu alaikum. Don't be shy, say assalamu alaikum. You get a
When
lot of
I
hasanat for that.
And when I see another Muslim, like 95% of the time, I could walk up to a random Muslim and just feel like I've known him my whole life. Like just it's family at the end of the day. Like, just be as
Yes.
comfortable.
That's a
You
closer
respect
family
him.
member than your brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
you know?
Because I come from a part of the country like we're known for being tough. Like I come from a part of the country where like I can get to it's not uncommon to like get to know the life story of the person saying line at the grocery store. But like, so I think maybe like I have a little bit of a bias because it's just I'm in that kind. But like for Muslims, like, you just go up and talk to them, I'll be okay.
Yeah, we have a lot in common than we think. Seriously. And
Yeah,
I've become this way after growing, and I'm always like this, talkative, alhamdulillah, amongst my peers and amongst my family even. I'm the most talkative person you can find. But
yeah,
I could get to know you just like you said. Like if we run into each other in the grocery store, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam, what's going on? Where you come from? What's going on? What's this? What's that? We try to figure things out. Try to get to know each other, because otherwise, we may run into a problem. Like the sister says, Alhamdulillah, I've been here for 8 years, but I haven't seen my brothers and sisters from the masjid helping me. So we don't want to have this issue. We want to be able to help each other. We want to be able to reach out to each other and figure what each of us need, so
yeah.
that way we don't fall short. And on the day of judgment, Allah will ask us. One of the things that the Prophet ﷺ told us, we're not supposed to go to sleep with our stomachs full and knowing that our neighbors hungry. This is how tight Muslim society is. This is how beautiful it is.
And the Sahaba, like, but the way they lived, like, they could tell, like, the Sahabas, like, they didn't really have to ask for help that much because they knew each other well enough. One of them was acting strange
Mm.
or acting a little off. They picked up on the hint and, like, you okay, bro? Like,
You are right. Yeah.
you okay? Everything okay?
Basiratul mu'min. Is
Yeah.
that vision that the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the believer.
Yeah, you have a suspicion that something might be wrong with someone, you check and see if it's cool.
Yeah. Man, I really would love to go on and on with this topic.
Yeah.
This is very beautiful. There's a lot of knowledge that's being spread. I really appreciate you being with us today, Brother Abu Yusuf,
Yeah,
Hafidhakallah.
cool. Shit.
Despite the fact that we had a previous stream that was all quiet with a lot
Yeah.
of talk.
Yeah, it's never gonna turn out the same way. I told you I don't like to plan things that much. Just
Yeah.
roll through it. I had several stories I didn't tell you last time, so I didn't even think of them.
Ah, subhanallah.
Yeah.
Subhanallah. So yeah, this is beautiful, man. We're gonna be doing this more often, bi'idhnillah.
Yeah.
Just, play it by ear,
Yeah.
we thank everyone who listened. We thank everyone who participated. We thank everyone who stayed around and joined us for this live talk. Inshallah, we'll be doing it at least once a week, maybe more than once if Allah Subhanahu wa Taala permits it. And until next time, Jazakallah khair for joining us, my dear
Yeah.
brother.
جزاكم خير حبيبي.
Abu Yusuf, Hafidhakallah. And until
الله
next time, I'm going to
يحفظك.
end the live. Everybody have a pleasant day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.